We've got Artis with us now, and Artis is out of Mississippi, and there are three Mississippi Greens running in the November 7th elections, and two of them have been endorsed by their state party. Greens first ran in Mississippi in 2004, with one elected to the County Election Commission in Tupelo. There have been 13 Green Party candidates in the state party history, and two Greens have been elected in their state. Heading into our November 2023 elections, one Mississippi Green holds elected office, a new city council seat in New Augusta. And we're joined by Artis Burney, who is running for State Senate District 51. Artis is running against Republicans and Libertarians, and Artis has been an oyster farmer and artist, and is engaged in nonprofit work, which is challenged the Southern Company and its subsidiary, the Mississippi Power Company, over 5 times the legal level of lithium in groundwater caused by Plant Daniel. The community is disproportionately polluted and suffers cancer, asthma, and birth defects. Artis supports, of course, like many Greens, locally based cooperative water management systems, supports Medicaid expansion, and opposes state legislatures, pardon me, vote to grant Capitol Police authority of most all of Jackson and create a judiciary headed by an unelected judge, which sounds terrible. Thank you for joining us tonight, Artis.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it sounds terrible. It's much worse than it sounds, huh?
I bet it is. To be honest with you, it's hard for me to really get my head around such a concept of an unelected judiciary and all. And it sounds like there's a lot of challenge in your district for both you as a candidate and for the constituents that you would represent. What would you think is your like number one challenge to overcome?
Well, I think our immediate challenge to overcome right now is we live right on the Gulf of Mexico, which is our most precious resource. And we're poisoning everything. We have to get better. Southern Company, Chevron has started to burn pyrolysis plastic, and they've had like over the Cherokee community on the other side of the fence from Chevron, they had like maybe 26 people pass away in the past 4 years from carcinogens from Chevron. And the people want a buyout. They want an equitable buyout, but the city and Chevron, they suggest these people should sell their property to somebody else and move. So we have our work cut out for us here in Mississippi, but we're working.
I can imagine that for a lot of people, running for office in any kind of capacity is pretty daunting, but you're running for Senate. So do you think that that's a bigger challenge, or like, do you think it would have been easier to run for like mayor or city council as opposed to Senate? What caused you to choose that race?
Well, what caused me to choose the District 51 Senate race is because of the relationship that it seems like the incumbent has with the Public Service Commission and the energy companies. They seem to be working together against the people. Another one of those situations of putting profits before people. And I think Jackson County deserves better than that.
Every place does, to be honest with you. I think it's really a terrible tragedy that we see so many corporate structures just exploiting people all across the country, and very few people are standing up like yourself to do something about it. So, speaking from my heart here, thank you very much for running for this office. So I know you mentioned like the Gulf of Mexico, and there's a lot of issues that are going on in the Gulf, right? With, of course, PFAs and oil spills and all the rest of that are continuing to plague us. I think one of the things that I know a lot about Mississippi is the disenfranchisement of voters and the
Yes.
closing of polling places and all this kind of stuff. How has that impacted your campaign?
Well, I haven't seen the impacts of it yet, because we've had to make up for that by more feet on the ground and things like that. Our problem here in Mississippi, and probably a lot of other places, is that the energy companies, well, they own the media, so it's hard to get legit reliable information from the media. I mean, they don't always lie to us, but they don't always tell us the whole story. And they can say we didn't lie to you, but we didn't tell us the whole story. So that's that's one thing we have here going on down here in South Mississippi.
That seems like a pretty significant challenge. I know here in Seattle, most of our media is owned by Amazon and Facebook and Google. So everything comes out of them as how great big business and corporations are, and they're terrible for us.
Yeah.
I know that one of the things I think we've heard from several of the candidates so far is their like strategy for getting out the vote, and all of them have been really clear that it's the going and knocking on the doors and hi, I'm the candidate. Do you find that that's a viable strategy running a senatorial campaign?
Yes, I think that's a viable strategy. I'm a Green Party candidate. I'm an underdog, so I have to outwork the next man. And here in Mississippi, we have a Republican supermajority, and so I think it's best if we do get out and shake hands and see people face to face. At least, having talking to a Green Party candidate face to face will at least put some things on your mind and maybe change your conversation a little bit in your group. And that's where we start. Because this Republican supermajority is, Mississippi still ranked at the bottom, so the supermajority is not working.
And did I hear it correctly that you're running against a Republican and a Libertarian, and there's not a Democrat in the race?
There's not a Democrat in the race, no, sir.
Which is intriguing to me because I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and there's a Democrat that runs for every single Senate, and House seat in the legislature all the time. So that's impressive, and maybe there's a small opening. Do you think are you at all optimistic about winning?
I'm very optimistic about winning. Last election, the incumbent, the guy I'm running against, he ran unopposed. And looking at the ballot this year, there are a lot of spots, people that are Republicans that are running unopposed. It's like in local elections, the Democrats don't even want to challenge anymore because it's because the Republican influence is so strong here. And I do expect to win. Next election, the Green Party of Mississippi is gonna flex. We've been doing some really putting in some work on the ground, so we're laying some stuff down. And this is the beginning of something really good.
Are the polls still open right now, or any results coming in?
No results just now. The polls closed at 7. I did see some on the local news where there were some polls that were asked to stay open until 8 p.m. But yeah, the polls were supposed to close at 7, and no results just yet. Let me refresh my page.
It's interesting because I'm thinking about how having a libertarian could actually be to your advantage. So if you have the right kind of libertarian that looks ultra conservative somehow, and that could peel off Republican voters to them, and then there's this wide opening for maybe moderate to Republicans who want to change, but also for people who maybe align with Democrats more, but nobody's running. They could be moving towards you. So that's very interesting. Did you get a good response when you were outdoor knocking? And did you talk about the green values much?
I did. I did get a good response. I'm from here. My family goes back here a long time, and my last name is pretty recognizable. It's South Mississippi, so it has that small town kind of vibe. And I did get a good response as far as conversations with different constituents. It's that Republican supermajority. Now, there's a lot of fear, ignorance, superstition behind that kind of, and hoping that we can break some of that. And I think we did break. I think we did break through some of that. And I think the polls reflect that we're having some success here.
So, Artis, I want to ask you kind of a question about that supermajority with the time we have left here. So I think that is a kind of an interesting situation Do you feel as if being a Green allows you to position yourself in a better way compared to your Democratic, like potential Democratic opponents, since none of them run? I kind of like when I listen to what you're saying, it's almost as if you're the only, alternative candidate to Republicans.
Yes.
There's Republicans and then more somehow Republican and then you.
That's right, and that's what I'm. I think this is going to put the Green Party in a position to challenge state leadership. Um, Democrats have given up. I don't blame them. But and so I think that's going to really open up a spot for the Green Party to come in and make some serious noise.
Right
Would
on.
you have any recommendations for other folks who are thinking of running for office in their state legislature? Words of wisdom for us before we have to say goodbye?
Yes. Please do not be afraid to go out and shake hands and start conversations with real people, because that's how we're going to connect. I'm an organizer by a profession and with nonprofits, and I know that grassroots is the way to go. That's how you grow something. So we have to get out and make our conversations family conversations instead of just political conversations. Oh, that's right. Mr. Feinstein, and KKK is still active here in Mississippi, brother.
That must have been a chat.
I really appreciate you being here tonight. I know for all the candidates, right? It's a huge night, of course, and there's plenty of other things that are taking your attention, especially right now as polls are closing and people want you to come to like election parties and all that kind of thing like that. So, for everyone here on the production side, thank you a lot, Artis, for being here tonight with us.
Okay. Now, I did want to point out one more thing. Okay, we usually have these electronic voting machines, but this year they weren't working, and so now we have paper ballots. And in 2016, I ran for election commissioner of my district, and there was some my opponent then, the incumbent, was counting votes in a room by himself. Yeah, I got video. Sent it to the Lynn Fitch in 2016. His sister assured me, Artis, Mr. Burney, there's no way the brother could do anything dishonest because the machine has been calibrated in such a way. I was like, okay, Miss Fitch. So we do, and this is still Mississippi. So that's probably my only concern about Mississippi. And then in 2016, we were assured that nothing is going on with this 2016 election, and we found out in hindsight that maybe there was. So I would have loved to have been out right now at some polls observing, but we're going to win anyway.
In my heart, I believe
you
it to
had
be
some of
so.
your team members out there watching at some of the polls and keeping an eye on things. But yeah, doesn't sound great. Thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it. I think we're at the top of the hour, and so we're going to segue now. I think